61 PWHL players are due to go compete in the Olympics. That's over a third of the total players in the league. Hi, I'm Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And you're listening to Raising the Game, a podcast covering the rise in opportunity, visibility, and accessibility of women's sports globally. We're a wife-husband team who are avid sports fans raising two young girls and find the exposure and investment in women's sports a gateway for them and other young girls like them to see their passions for play, performance, and leadership, not as extracurriculars to be added to a resume or a discipline with an expiration date after high school or college, but as a real opportunity to build a career as an athlete, a coach, an analyst, an athletic trainer, a director of sports operations, or maybe even a podcaster.
Each week, we're bringing you the top stories in women's professional and sometimes collegiate sports. We'll highlight primetime performers, key business decisions, economic impacts, and the growing opportunities for women's athletics. You'll hear our perspectives on these stories as fans, but perhaps more importantly as parents who value what these stories mean for our kids. If there's a storyline or topic you'd like to hear us talk about, reach out via email or on social media at RTG_pod.
All right. So we will get into this week's episode, but similar to last week, we just want to take a minute, acknowledge what has continued to happen and go on in our community here in Minneapolis. It's been a difficult couple of days here, and we want to acknowledge that it's been difficult. We acknowledge that there's a lot going on, and we are encouraging folks around us, including our audience members, to, get involved how you feel is appropriate for you. For us, that's come mostly in the form of donations. So donations to, last week we talked about eateries often run or owned by immigrants here in the Twin Cities area that we love, that we've donated to, but also food pantries. There's other resources. We're going to drop all of those links in the podcast info today, but just want to make sure that people feel like they have outlets for supporting a community that's certainly in a hard spot right now. So
absolutely,
just want to repeat that it's an ongoing thing. And we appreciate y'all getting out in the community however you see fit. So
100%.
One other thing we're going to do, I think,
here we go.
Before we get into our typical favorite thing is we launched our first official episode last week. We actually ended up posting a bonus episode. So if you haven't gone back to listen to episode 2, it was maybe a little rougher on the audio, but it was our second ever recorded episode. So we posted that too. But we've had people reach out and be like, who are you guys? Like, what's going on here? And so we just wanted to do a quick intro, sharing a little bit about what we do in our day-to-day and then a little bit about why we're here. So Alex, you want to kick us off?
I am a technical product manager at a financial services company. Super exciting. I think we talked about background, and I have nearly zero sports background at all. I got into computers in high school, and it has been essentially computers and technology ever since. But I've always enjoyed watching sports. I grew up watching a lot of football. I think like we talked in one of our other episodes. And that's just kind of slowly morphed into more and more women's sports. I think the big exposure for me was watching you coach high school women's soccer. And I think that was kind of the first big exposure, and then just into the U.S. women's national team, and then just more and more as we have been together the last 10, 11 years now.
Yeah. Alex is our technical director here at RTG _pod.
I do some things here.
No, I would also say that Alex is the one who came up with the idea for this podcast. So I think recognizing kind of our passion for sports, that we have two young daughters and that some of the momentum that we're seeing, as we say in the intro, is really unprecedented and cool for them to see. So I want to thank him for that. But I will also do a little introduction. So I am the chief of staff at a technology consulting company. So both kind of working in the tech space. Came up through that as an operations analyst. But prior to that, I actually have a background in exercise science and nutrition. So I have a master's and a bachelor's in those. I spent about 10 years in the health and fitness industry before making a huge career change as we were expecting our first child. And so I have had a lifelong passion for sport performance, sports, specifically looking at performance as it relates to women. I wrote my entire master's thesis project on a comprehensive college level full season training program for soccer athletes. So that's sort of where a lot of my background comes into play, I think, as we talk about the pod. And then I think, just like I said, it seems like an opportune moment to spend some time talking about something that we already talked about.
Yeah.
And hopefully sharing it with other people. I think we've had a couple of people give us feedback as we've shared this out, being like, I didn't realize there's that much going on in women's sports.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, we have plenty of content. So that's why we're here.
If we're going to talk about it for an hour around the dinner table over the course of a week, why not?
Might as well record it and share with all of you.
Exactly. So, all right, should we get into favorite thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
What was yours?
Oh, man. Well, I looked at your cheat sheet, so I know what yours is, and it would also probably...
I have a second secret one.
Oh, he's got a secret one. So my favorite team was back in action over the weekend. We'll talk about this, but the U.S. women's national team hit the pitch again for the first time in 2026, and, well, it was a bumpy first half.
Yep.
I think we saw some magic in the second. Very fun to see all the youth out there, as well as see Trinity kind of cap off a really exciting week for her. So I think that was it. If I think of something else, I will let you all know.
I mean, same thing for me. Slow start, kind of almost disappointing in a way, but then they poured it on in the second half. Yeah. So that was really fun to see. My second one was tonight when we were sitting at dinner watching the Lunar Owls versus the Hive. We record this on Monday nights, if you can't tell.
In unrivaled action.
Yeah, unrivaled. So I think in one of our first podcasts, I asked the question, does this expose system players and not just like straight one-on-one ballers? And I had brought up earlier this week that maybe like someone like a Natisha Heidemann may be more of like a system player. She hadn't been playing well. And it's like she heard me through the TV the past two nights and just lit up the scoreboard. So I just thought it was really funny that it's like she heard me. She heard me call her out and then just lit it up. Yeah,
and T for those who are following along a little bit, it plays for the Lynx, so our home team in the W, and then went off to have I think 11 points on her first game over the weekend, and then 18 just like dropping threes.
Crazy.
Like insane. So that's a good one. All right. You want to take us through top headlines?
Let's do it. To start us off, big news. Trinity Rodman signs huge 3-year deal with Washington Spirit, making her the highest paid women's footballer in the world.
Yeah, we're going to dig into this a little bit. We know we've been talking about that saga with the NWSL and the high impact player rule. So we want to touch on that, as well as we'll talk a little bit about the national team performance over the weekend.
U.S. women's national team returned to the pitch with the youngest starting 11 in 25 years. Average age of 24 and a third, to rout Paraguay in the second half for a 6-0 victory to kick off their 2026 campaign.
Yep.
You heard here last week that IOK signed with NWSL expansion team Denver Summit. She also ended up getting her first national team call up as Avery Patterson was ruled out with an illness.
So we are calling it that when we say things just manifest in the universe.
The reverse Madden curse.
Yeah.
We talk about you, you do better.
Yeah. So perfect. You want us to talk about you
here. U.S. women's national team announces trio of friendlies against Japan in April. Kind of announced accidentally by Emma Hayes the night before.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about her press tour in a bit.
In the WNBA, the league released the 2026 season schedule, a move that seems to create some pressure for the union to accept a deal.
Yes, this is interesting. We're not going to get into it today, but
could be a tactic. Part of that schedule release are some marquee must-see TV matchups that first week, like Wings versus Fever on May 9th, defending champion Aces versus Sparks on May 10th, rematch of last season's Western Conference Finals, Lynx versus Mercury on May 12th, and an expansion team showdown on May 23rd, Portland Fire versus Toronto Tempo.
Yeah, looking forward to all of those. Mark your calendars.
Crossing my fingers that the season is happening.
I'm manifesting positivity today.
That's what we do on this podcast. Sticking with W News, Chicago Sky star Angel Reese is joining the cast of The Hunting Wives on Netflix in the upcoming second season.
Please.
And I'm offline. I'm going to need you to tell me what The Hunting Wives is, because I have no idea what this is.
Those who know. All
right. In unrivaled action last week, Paige Beckers wins the league free throw challenge, earning her $50,000, which she turned around and donated to supporting her hometown of Hopkins amidst the tension and challenge in Minnesota.
Yeah, that was big. I mean, just kind of speaks to who Paige is as a person. She's been giving back to her community since she got into the W. I think even before that with some of her NIL money. But pretty cool to see doing the right thing.
Yeah. We also got to see we saw this live, the second ever dunk in unrivaled history by Becker's teammate Dominique Malonga, which had Sephora Arena almost lose the roof.
I saw a quote from Dominique. They asked her about it, and she was like, I didn't want to just be a practice dunker. Like, I needed to be an in-game dunker. And we were watching, we were like, oh my God, like she did it.
She did it.
It was cool.
South Carolina spoiled Vanderbilt's perfect season with a dominant 103-74 victory.
Yeah.
Olympian Jordan Childs lands a perfect 10 in vault as UCLA defeats Nebraska.
This was dope. You should go find the clip. It's so cool. She lands something that I'm not going to try to repeat. It's like some double Yurchenko or something. But got me really hyped for us to go to the Gopher Women's Gymnastics meet
this weekend. Team USA names 97 athletes to official Milano Cortino ski and snowboard roster. Includes Schifrin, Vaughn, Diggins, Kim, Benecki, Irving, among many others. LOVB Match of the Week on USA Sports posts top regular season viewership. In Australian Open action, the American women are putting in a strong performance with Coco Gauff, Amanda Anisimova, Jessica Pegula. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you got it
right this time. And teenage phenom Eva Jovic, all reaching the quarterfinals.
We had to do a lot of pronunciation practice.
We're going to get to an Australian Open segment, and we're just going to pray that I make it through.
Yes.
Nebraska becomes the first school from Power 4 Conference to name flag football as a varsity sport.
Yeah, we talked last week about how the NCAA voted to put that as an emerging sport, and then Power 4 Conference Nebraska turns around and makes that a varsity sport.
Yeah,
you're seeing it pop up. I had a school teacher, woman I coach soccer with, actually reach out and say they're starting flag football at that high school.
Amazing.
So I think we're going to see a lot of momentum behind flag football. The NFL is behind it at certain levels and things like that. Plus, you've got that as an Olympic sport now too. So that'll be a fun one to watch.
All right, we're digging into some PWHL this week.
Yeah, so for those who are watching, and if you're not watching, Alex and I are wearing matching Minnesota Frost hats today in honor of our deep dive on the PWHL. So the last couple episodes we talked about Unrivaled in episode 2. Last week we came out and talked about the NWSL and sort of how that off season is shaping up. We haven't gotten much into the structure of the NWSL. We'll talk about that in a later episode, but we wanted to flip it to hockey.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hockey season here. We're in the state of hockey here in Minnesota. We've got the Olympics coming up. Team USA kicks off their action on February 5th.
Yep.
Against Czechia. So we'll be watching that. We'd gone to a Frost game a couple weeks ago. So we really felt like we needed to dive in, learn a little bit more about the league and share that with all of you. So we're going to take you through little bit of the history of the PWHL. How is it structured? How have they grown? What is their deal with broadcasting and sponsorship and all of that? And then we're going to talk about the players and then potential kind of like upcoming potential challenges with that league, right? We've talked a lot about labor disputes in the NWSL. I think there is a potential labor dispute in the near horizon for the PWHL, but there's going to be some tells we'll be looking for. So we're going to take you through that. But let's back up. Let's ground us all in what the PWHL is. So PWHL, we've been throwing that around, Professional Women's Hockey League. You can think of that when we mention that acronym. It launched on January 1st, 2024. So I learned this. They actually played like a mini season that first season, right? Because they ran January to April, May timeframe. And then a typical season now for the last 2 years starts around the November timeframe, and then it runs until about May is when the playoffs all wrap up. It was formed after the Mark Walter Group. So this is led by Los Angeles Dodgers owner Mark Walter and his wife Kimbra. Purchased assets of the Premier Hockey Federation in 2023. So I think this was a previous iteration of professional women's hockey in the United States. And they partnered with the Players Association, the PWHPA, to create a unified, financially stable league. So something that's unique about this league versus some others is that it is single sourced in its funding. It's one single entity. This helped create stability, like I just said, across the different markets as it got started. But there's also some interesting, like, you can think in the future as this grows, like how that may not be a sustainable option.
It kind of reminds me of like a franchise versus corporate owned type business, whereas a lot of other leagues are you actually buy in to the league as a franchise,
right?
Versus this is just like having a corporate run. You have like 6 hotels that are corporate run versus them all being different owners and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. As far as kind of decision-making body, there's a strategic advisory board led by Billie Jean King of tennis fame. Alongside her is her wife and equally great tennis star, Alana Kloss. Stan Kasten and Royce Cohen, who I learned are actually both involved with the Dodgers. Stan Kasten has been around sort of sports organization, some of that ownership grouping. Like we've talked about that in previous episodes with other leagues where like you actually see these business people, right, be like, oh, this is a good investment, right? And so these folks come together and really make the decisions around the league right now. We actually got to see Billie Jean King at one of the games we went to a couple years ago.
The championship game last year.
Yes. She said, let's play hockey, which is a big deal.
Big deal here in Minnesota.
But let's talk a little bit about the league structure. So the PWHL this season is comprised of 8 teams, 4 in the US, 4 in Canada. This is up from 6 teams for the first 2 seasons. They play 30 games in the regular season, and they are looking to earn 1 of 4 playoff spots. And then through that tournament, that determines the Walter Cup winner. Current teams are Boston Fleet, based in Massachusetts, Minnesota Frost, based right here in St. Paul, Minnesota, the Montreal Victoire in Quebec, New York Sirens, who actually are based in New Jersey, because that's what happens when you're a New York sports team. The Ottawa Charge, obviously from Ottawa, Ontario. Toronto Scepters, also in Ontario. And then the 2 expansion teams, Seattle Torrent and Vancouver Golden Eyes. So they kind of kept that balance. I'm suspicious that as they continue to expand, the league will continue to try to keep an even keel between Canada and the United States.
I was kind of wondering actually about the expansion. Have you read anything about the kind of depth of talent that's out there? Like how quickly are they going to be able to expand and kind of keep that talent, that level of talent there?
So I'm going to hold off on answering that. We're going to talk a little bit about the players in the PWHL who are part of the Olympic teams and what proportion of the total player grouping is that. And I think we could lean into that a little bit more once we put those numbers on the table. One other thing I just want to talk about to close out the league, they do have some innovative rules. So similar to what we talked about with Unrivaled, the PWA as far as creating their own rules, they do not have ELAM endings in hockey. But they do a creative scoring mechanism where you have wins, ties, draws, and losses, right? But instead of a point, usually it's 3 points for a win, 0 for a loss, and 1 or 2 for a tie, depending on what. They have a point system where if you win, you get 3 points. If you win in overtime, you get 2 points. If you lose in overtime, you get 1 point. And if you don't win, you get 0 points. And so it actually makes tying a worthwhile goal, right? You're not out everything. If you lose that, it doesn't feel like you put all that effort in and didn't get anything in return. Additionally, they have what's called a jailbreak rule in hockey. So it means that the team, if there's a penalty, the team that, if the team scores a shorthanded goal, so the team who is penalized, who has a player in the penalty box, comes out.
Yeah, I find this a super fun rule because it does make you maybe a little bit more willing to, when you're shorthanded on defense, you might be willing to kind of poke it out there and try and get something going. But obviously that also comes with the risk of them scoring the goal anyways. But it's really fun to be able to see you break that person out of the penalty box after scoring.
Yeah, so that's contrary to the NHL where even if a shorthanded goal is scored,
the
penalty continues. Best of 5 shootout. So if they are tied, they do a best of 5 shootout. And then body checking, which is not as common in women's hockey, but there are specific restrictions around that. Mostly player safety situations.
Something I think that was really interesting. I don't think they did it this past year. The first year, I believe they did a winner gets to pick their first opponent in the playoffs. So if you're the highest seed, highest seed, you got to pick who you played. And you could kind of decide based on either seeding or based on if you play them and you felt good about it, you got to pick your opponent.
Oh, that's which is really cool. But then the other two are just left playing each other.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they didn't do this past year, and I doubt it's going to continue going forward. But it was really fun that first year.
So moving on, we mentioned a little bit about the ownership. So wholly owned and operated by the Mark Walter Group. The league currently is under an 8-year CBA that was established at the end of 2023 before that 2024 January 1st start. So that means it goes until 2031. Yeah. And this we'll come back to this in a second, but essentially that CBA created a agreement, right, where there are $35,000 minimum salaries for those keeping track at home. That's not that much, as we know in this day and age. Housing and food stipends, as well as health insurance. So we're putting that out there. We're gonna let you think about it for a second while we talk about a few other things. But that is something that potentially points to room
future
for negotiation,
for sure,
for the players. One thing we did want to talk about, right? We get questions like, what's the investment level though, right? Like, how can you afford the increase in salaries if you were to negotiate that? So it's interesting. I looked into broadcast deals because that's actually a lot of money for these sports comes in through that, right? Canada, comprehensive coverage for all 90 regular season games plus playoffs. So amazing. They run it. They do French language broadcasts for all Montreal games. They run it through couple different channels. It's in Prime Video, things like that. So it's accessible to everybody. Yeah. The US run through regional networks.
Yeah.
Like FanDuel Sports here in Minnesota.
Even like our just like normal Fox channel, the Plus version.
The Plus version, yeah. So you have to have the Plus version in order to see it, right? So it's like this on the side partnership. Yeah. I will add, for those who are interested, all PWHL games are available for free on YouTube in the US.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you are looking to watch, can't find it online, go into YouTube, you'll be able to find those games. Now, what I find really interesting about this is we've talked about some of these other leagues. We see sort of this opportunity to talk about how the players are contributing to the revenue that the league is generating, oftentimes through broadcast deals. And so I'm pinning this as a key watch area. So that if we see a U.S. broadcast deal come through, that may be a sign that we may start to see players push for negotiation on that CBA. And I actually think that will come before that CBA expires in 8 years. In addition to that, and sort of related, I'm going to read through a couple of the sponsors, but what we'll notice is that there are no major U.S. brands. The list is very short here. There's a lot of Canadian brands that are involved. And I think a big part of that is that they don't have a cohesive broadcast deal, right? Like, you're not going to have major brands sign on to advertise
in Canada
or FanDuel Sports Network, right?
Exactly.
So founding partners include the Canadian Tire Corporation and Air Supra, which was the first U.S. founding partner. I've got to admit, I didn't look up what that is. I have no idea. But we've got Air Canada, so that's the premier partner. It's the official airline, and does jersey branding for the Montreal Victoire. Rogers Communication, which is the telecommunications partner in Canada. Bauer Hockey, the first official jersey partner beginning the 2024, so second season. And then CCM Hockey, obviously equipment, base layers, and the pads and whatnot. Scotiabank, Canada. And then other partners, Hyundai Auto, Canada. Royale, Canada. Molson, Canada. Are you getting the theme?
Yes.
Right. So I think if you look at the comparison between the broadcast deals, the sponsorships, you're really seeing a big emphasis and investment from the Canadian side and less from the US so far. So I was going to
say, I mean, we already kind of talked about this, but I think it, like we said, it kind of talks to this is a model that people want to get in on. It's very exciting to have this big of a league to happen.
Yes.
And I think these big partners are saying we want in at the ground floor here. And we're seeing that. And I think, like you said, as soon as there's some sort of US broadcast deal, I think it's just a matter of time before US sponsors kind of dig in.
Yeah, I agree. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk about the players. We have, as we mentioned at the top, the Olympics coming up. Every single player I am about to mention is playing in the Olympics for either Team USA or Team Canada.
Yeah.
So I want to go through these. I apologize in advance to these lovely women if I mispronounce their names. I tried really hard to learn, but no promises. So I'm going to start with the Montreal Victoire and Team Canada captain. She was voted top player by the players in a recent athletic poll in the New York Times. Marie-Philippe Poulin claimed both the Billie Jean King MVP award and Forward of the Year honors in the 2024-2025, so last season. Leading the league with 19 goals in 30 games.
Wow.
If you're doing the math on that, that's a lot of goals in that many games. Like I mentioned, captain of both her PWHL Team Victoire and Team Canada. She has won 3 Olympic gold medals, the last 3 Olympics that she's played in, and she has scored the game-winning goal in all 3 of those games. She is known as Captain Clutch.
Amazing.
For her teammates. So Hilary Knight, she has been known for a long time as the face of women's hockey. She's a 36-year-old veteran. She became the first player signed by expansion team Seattle Torrent. She captains Team USA. She co-led the league in scoring last season with 29 points, 15 goals, and 14 assists in 30 games. So you're scoring a point a game.
Yeah.
That's an amazing
That's a great clip
in hockey. And she is followed here in our highlights by Sarah Fillier, who plays for the New York Sirens, who co-led the league in scoring with Knight last season. As a rookie, I might mention.
Okay.
So she's Canadian. She plays for Team Canada. She co-led the league, like I mentioned, 13 goals, 16 assists, recording 10 more points than any rookie prior to that in PWHL history. Other stars we'll mention, Kendall Coyne-Schofield, captain of the Minnesota Frost here. She's so far been in the mix for top scorers in the 25-26 season. She's an Olympian as well. Sarah Nurse, she now plays for the expansion team Vancouver Golden Eyes. She's a Canadian international. She's just coming back off of injury, but I saw the other day that she had scored like 2 goals in like her second game back or something.
Very nice.
So she's good. Taylor Heisey, also of the Minnesota Frost, playing for Team USA. Renata Fast plays for Toronto, Team Canada. Anne Renee Debienne plays for Montreal. She is the #1 goaltender for the Canadian national team. Erin Frankel is a goaltender for Team USA, and Natalie Spooner of the Toronto Scepters playing for Team Canada as well. So some names for you to watch out there for as you're watching the Olympics in a couple of weeks here. Now, I have to just briefly do a little bit of a shameless thing here and mention who has won in the PWHL, the Walter Cup, for the first 2 seasons.
First 2 seasons. That'd be us.
That would be the Minnesota Frost. Now, obviously, we're fans. Obviously, it's fun to say that. Yeah. I think actually we got to see if they can do it again.
Yeah.
I think this season presents some unique challenges with the Olympic break and things like that. But what I do want to point out, in both of their runs, they've been seeded 4th.
Yep.
And then ended up beating Toronto in both seasons in the semifinals.
Yep.
So they reverse sweep Toronto in the 24 season. They defeated Toronto in the semifinals in the 2025 season. They beat Boston for the championship in 24 and Ottawa for the championship in 25.
Yeah, I just really want to know what was going on just in the locker room around that team both years to come in, in the 4th seed and then just end up taking it all. I also want to know why every time we go to see a championship clutching game, they go to like triple overtime and we end up having to go home and before it's over.
Children.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's crazy.
We have yet to see them win a championship because their games take so long.
Yeah.
But it means that it's really competitive, awesome hockey. I think in that, what was my call sheet here? All 4 games of the finals in 2025 were decided 2-1 in overtime.
Yeah. Yep.
So like they are at each other. It's fun to watch. You're always waiting for that moment, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be nerve-wracking as all get out for the players.
Yeah.
That's why you're the professionals. So we're going to wrap up here with a little mention of what the PWHL dubs the Takeover Tour. So this is an interesting way that they are able to test expansion markets. And so each season they pick neutral game sites around the US and Canada to go bring 2 of the teams to and play a game. And we kind of started to hear more about this in the last season. The inaugural, or I guess the 24-25 season, they drew about 120,000 fans across 9 games, which averages 13,700 fans per game, which is double what their average attendance is at home.
Yep.
For the 25-26 season, the tour has expanded to 16 neutral site games in 11 different locations, including 7 new cities. So take note, because we're going to talk about expansion potential in a minute.
Yep.
Calgary, Chicago, Dallas, Halifax, Hamilton, Washington, D.C., and Winnipeg. So some key highlights here. They played in front of a sold-out crowd of 19,000 in Vancouver prior to Vancouver becoming an expansion team. So when they did the tour last year, that happened. They got a team.
Yep.
It's not that simple, but let's
pretend.
They had 14,000 in Detroit, which is the U.S. attendance record. Well, it was the U.S. attendance record until DC showed them how it's done this season. They had over 17,000 folks in attendance. I think we mentioned that on a previous episode.
I think we did.
Where they were like, give us a team. We've also seen attendance growth just in general across the PWHL. The league surpassed its entire inaugural season attendance in total through the first 55 games. So 90 game season, 55 games of the second season. So that's pretty cool. Wow. And then, like I said, average attendance jumping about 50% season to season from about 5,700 to 7,200.
Yeah. I'm really wondering, like with that DC game, it can't be just that, oh my gosh, we got that huge attendance number. Like, I really wonder, do they look at that and go, this this could be a good expansion opportunity. I'm wondering, like, what is the business that goes in? Like, how do you think about what do we need to do to actually vet out like the expansion team in this city? Like, I'm really interested in what goes through their brains and like how they kind of pick those.
Yeah, so I think I have a little bit of a clue. I was reading an article and they were talking about how oftentimes you'll look for markets where you can create a sister team. So where is hockey really popular within the market in the NHL?
So you've got the infrastructure.
You have the infrastructure. You sort of have the fan base. I mean, you saw that just from these Detroit being, right, DC. They've got the Capitals. Detroit have the Red Wings. So you sort of have it pre-built. And so I have a feeling that they're going to be looking at markets that already have hockey teams, right? Already have that infrastructure. And so that's my prediction for future expansion potential. I could see them adding 2 teams potentially again next year. There were murmurs from some of the league ownership or league administration team or whatever that they might actually jump to 12 teams.
Okay.
I think there's benefit in that. There's probably broadcast deals potentially there as far as like how much you're going to be able to broadcast. But as far as U.S. markets, I could see Detroit and DC. Those 2 are holding like top attendance so far. And it's been DC is new. Detroit is not. That's been consistent 2 years in a row where they've brought out more than 13,000 people for those games. Or my dark horse is Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby, like that could be a potential market.
I'm kind of wondering if they look at the men's side of thing and say who still watches hockey when their teams are not good, right? Yeah. Because then you've got the fans that are going to go no matter what, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of just the bandwagon fans.
Exactly. And then from a Canadian markets perspective, the same article I read, they're really looking at Halifax as a potential market, which would break our like sister team concept here. But Winnipeg or Calgary also seem ripe for that, given that you've got the Flames in Calgary and the Jets in Winnipeg. So couple other milestones just to mention, and then we're going to move on to our next topic. The PWHL was recognized by the Sports Business Journal as the Sports Breakthrough of the Year in 2024. And then it's been ranked number 1 in Canada for corporate reputation in both 2024 and 2025. PWHL was integrated into EA Sports NHL 25 video game for you gamers out there. You can go be Hillary Knight and play. And then getting back to something you mentioned before, 61 PWHL players are due to go compete in the Olympics. That's over a third of the total players in the league. And so when you think about that talent pool, I don't know of many other leagues where you have that many Olympians in the league, right? And so if you think about, like, that's a huge number of players that they are at the
top level.
You've got growth in the college women's game. And then you've also got players from overseas potentially wanting to come in and play in this league if it becomes something that can support a lifestyle and things like that, right? Which we could argue that maybe that's where we need to be doing some negotiation, PWHPA. So I think we'll move on from the PWHL for today, but we'll come back to it.
Yeah, I think we got a lot more to talk about, actually.
Yeah, we'll come back to it in the future. We do want to talk about that CBA. We want to talk about a little bit more of the financials. As you can tell, probably we would like to nerd out on that stuff. But we got to talk some more.
Big news, the Rodman deal.
Yeah, we gotta shift gears. We got to talk about the Rodman deal, the Rodman rule, and then this U.S. women's national team performance. So really quickly, the details of the deal are not public, but we have some quotes from Trinity's agent that have come out that essentially say that she's signed a 3-year deal. We do know that with the Washington Spirit. This is a huge win for the Spirit. It's a huge win for Trinity. It's a huge win for the NWSL.
Yeah.
This deal purportedly makes her the highest paid women's footballer in the world. So she's going to be making upwards of what they're saying is $1 million per year, 2 million with bonuses and incentives and things like that if she achieves those milestones.
Yep.
One, I do want to pull a quote in here. So from Michelle Kang, we've talked about her before. She's the owner of the Washington Spirit. She's a huge investor in women's sports. I aspire to be Michelle Kang one day. But what she said is after this deal was made public was this: Trinity is a generational player, but more importantly, she represents the future of this club and the future of women's soccer. I underlined this next part. This agreement reflects our belief that elite talent deserves elite commitment. At the Spirit, we are building something enduring, a club that competes for championships every year, invests in excellence, and creates an environment where world-class players can thrive long-term. Trinity choosing to continue her career in Washington is a powerful statement about what we are building here.
Yeah. I mean, I immediately think about the elite talent deserves elite commitment and what that means for other players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Does this set the floor for the triple espresso?
Possibly. I mean, we'll talk. I have a little bit about when are they due to come back. I think it's starting to establish what potentially the floor should be on these big players, right? I also think it was a little bit of shade at the league.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
I think that there was kind of a like, hey, if you really want these players to stay, we got to raise salary caps across the board. We have to be compensating these players a little bit more. And Michelle Kang's like, and I can.
Yeah.
If you're here with me. So come here with me. Really quick on that, just transitioning to the league reaction. So it was really, it was funny to me to read the quotes coming from the commissioner, Jessica Berman, immediately after this. She's like, this is a proof of concept that the high impact player rule works. And they also talked a lot about how they consulted or acted in good faith with the NWSL Players Association about the high impact player rule. And the PA is like, no, you didn't. We didn't know that this was a thing. I think I read that their executive director received notice that that was a rule being discussed on December 11th. And then by December 23rd of last year, they had voted it into action, right? The league also came out and said like, oh, this has been an idea for years. Like we were talking about this in 2023. And the Players Association is like, news to us.
Yeah, news to us.
Right?
You didn't tell us.
And this goes back right to the whole like negotiating in good faith. Also the whole like, oh, this isn't the Rodman rule, but like conveniently worked out to keep her in the league at this time. If you had it as a thing on the table back in 2023, why didn't you activate it then? Right. So
is this kind of a workaround to all of this? Because it was always that fourth year that was the issue in her original contract, right? And this is a three year. So they kind of just saying, we're hoping to have everything figured out by year 4 and we want to keep you here longer.
Yeah, honestly, I found an article where the league had some finance person trying to explain exactly how the original contract violated the salary cap and then how this one didn't. And I couldn't follow it. And I like work with business financials on a regular basis. But like, I was like, I don't even know what you're trying to say. There's some contingency here and there's something that and so it was a little confusing to me. Maybe I'll try to learn it one day, but I believe that has to have been part of it. I also do think they are employing the high impact player rule. So they had access to a pool of funds that previously didn't exist when they were striking that 4-year deal. Right. So now they're like, great, we'll keep her for 3. In the meantime, I'm sure the Spirit are like, and in that 3-year time period, the salary cap's going to go up. Yeah. Like that's going to get negotiated. Obviously it seems to be on the table here. So, let's switch gears though. Cause Trinity like signed that contract, then, is in the U.S. national team camp, gets told she's going to captain the team and then she scores a goal.
Yeah. Amazing.
Let's talk about
what a great weekend. I think some of the stats that really stood out that we talked about on game day were average caps per player in camp 6.6, and average caps starting on Saturday were 10. Essentially 24 age average in camp.
Yeah, and we already mentioned like the least capped starting 11 in 25 years. Couple other like fun facts. Hayes has been at the helm for 31 matches now. 30 players have gotten first cap, so almost a player a game while she's been in. And it makes sense, right? We talked about this in last episode. I think you're seeing her test this pool, which I actually saw in an article called An Ocean of Talent, because there's so much depth in the USA soccer talent pool right now. And frankly, like watching the game, I knew going into it, it was going to be a little bit of like we're feeling each other out. It's the first camp. You're coming off some of these. This is a full NWSL roster as well. So none of these players are playing right now. They're all in their off season. They're prepping for preseason for NWSL, maybe getting into that. And I thought this showed. I thought the youth showed. But I actually feel like it was a really appropriate spot for it to show. I imagine we heard from Emma in her media day that she is planning to essentially, the next rosters we see are going to be those rosters of the folks she thinks are going to be playing in the World Cup. And so you can imagine these young players being called up to this camp and being like, well, I want to be on the next roster.
Absolutely.
And instead of maybe being a little bit more fearless, I mean, you saw Trinity be, she's established. She kind of like knows her position. She can go after things and make mistakes. You've got these younger players who are like, I better not.
Exactly.
Right. So
I'm just trying to check over there if you stole my notes, because I was literally going to ask, is this a stress test of the depth of this team? And that's exactly what you answered. Literally. And so I think my follow along to that is, in the young group, who has the highest ceiling to actually break into the starting 11 for the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, so I was thinking about this. I'm like, just level setting who we didn't see. For those of you who follow USA women's soccer, Emily Sonnet wasn't there. Tierna Davidson's been out with injury. She might be back ready to play. We didn't have Naomi Girma. We didn't have Kat Marcario. We didn't have Rose Lavelle, Lindsay Heaps, Alyssa Thompson, among others. I know I'm leaving some out. But, and then you've got Sophia Wilson and Mallory Swanson, who are coming back off maternity leave. And Emma, I watched an interview with Emma where she was like, Sophia Wilson she's likely to be named in the next roster. Like she is training. She is getting back up to speed right now. It's possible that she makes that spot. So to go back to your question, there's not a lot of spots
available
to fill. Now, from what I saw and what I've been seeing, I really, really think that Allie Sentnor, who has kind of played a versatile like 10 or 9 for the team, has put in some good showings. I think I happen to have watched like the 2 games where she really stood out. She had a brace in both. So this last game against Paraguay, I think she had a game last year, maybe her first cap, where she scored 2 goals. She seems to play really well in there. I really like how Gisele Thompson was playing in the game this past weekend. So this is Alyssa Thompson's younger sister, but she was playing some beautiful slip passes, like really seeing the field well. I think Olivia Moultrie, who's been in the side, she's, believe it or not, one of the more capped players there on that team. She plays well. She's very creative out of the midfield. I think decision making there still needs some refinement, but I really like watching her play. I think Claire Hutton is another one who's just a really calm presence in the midfield. I saw in that same interview with Emma, she mentioned that Claire is a future captain of the national team, right? It's like she sees that leadership and poise and what they look for there. So a lot. I think I still wonder about that goalkeeper position. We talked about that. Mandy McGlynn started for the team over the weekend. I think she's great. They said she's been performing really well in camp. So a lot to watch out for.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot to watch out for. Let's see. So just really quick, we're going to do a little reminder on upcoming matches for the national team. So we have, by the time you are listening to this, the national team will have played Chile in a friendly. We'll see how that goes. We're eagerly awaiting that. But then in March, we have the She Believes Cup. They'll play in Nashville, Columbus, and Harrison, New Jersey against Argentina, Canada, and Colombia. So that's going to be it's like a CONCACAF CONMEBOL mashup. Really interesting given that with qualifying later in the year, the U.S. is likely to see Canada again.
Yep.
And then in April, so She Believes, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, is not in an international break. Maybe it is. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But in April, it is an official international break, and these are the games that Emma let slip in her presser. She pre-announced them, but the U.S. National team will play Japan 3 times, which is a little unprecedented. Usually you don't play an opponent that many times, but Emma was quoted as saying, this Japan is just, we talked about it in the last episode, they're so good, they're so disciplined, and so like if you can show up 3 times in a row and try to best Japan, like you're doing something right. Now, what I think is interesting, 2 things that's interesting about that matchup, Japan will be coming off of the Asian Football Confederation Women's Asian Cup, which is the qualifying tournament for the World Cup. So they will know once they arrive here on U.S. soil whether or not they're going to be competing next year in the World Cup. And then the last time these 2 teams played was in last year's She Believes Cup, in which Japan beat the U.S. 2-1 on their way to their first ever She Believes Cup title. So that's pretty cool. I'm definitely looking forward to that as somebody who loves to watch Japan play, as well as the national team of the U.S. team. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. I think we need to move on, don't we?
Yes.
All right. We're moving on to the Australian Open roundup that we have here.
Yeah.
I'm going to try my best with these names.
You're going to do it?
I'm not going to do all of it, but I am going to try my best with some of these names.
Okay. We're going to rapid fire this at you guys. The Australian Open's going on this week. We're going to lean into, by the end of the week this week, they'll be playing the finals.
Yeah, I think Thursday or Friday morning is I actually have it on the What to Watch.
All right.
Thursday and Saturday, I think, are what we're looking for.
Up. So we have 4 Americans remaining in the quarterfinals. We could have 3 Americans in the semis, which would be crazy. But one side of the bracket, we see top-seeded American Coco Gauff. She'll make her 3rd straight quarterfinal appearance, taking on the 12-seed Elina Svitolina.
Very nice.
Thank you. And then opposite them is number 1 seed, world number 1 tennis player Aryna Sabalenka, looking for her 3rd crown in 4 years. She just defeated this up-and-coming teenager from Canada, Victoria Mboko, and now she has to turn around and play this up-and-coming teenager from the United States, Eva Jokovic. Jovic, not Novak Djokovic.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yes.
I was thinking of that because I had read an article where I think Novak had actually given her some advice pre-match, and so nobody knows what it was because she wasn't sharing, but she's like, yeah, he came over and we chatted. So she's 18. That's pretty cool. She is the youngest American woman to reach the quarterfinals since Venus Williams in 1998. More on Venus Williams in a minute.
Yes.
On the other side of our bracket for quarterfinals, we've got 6th seed Jessica Pegula, who just beat fellow USA teammate Madison Keys, the defending champion. And she will face another American, the 4th seed Amanda Anisimova, before. And so out of that one, we're going to have an American come out into the semis. And then the number 2 seed Iga Swiatek, she is looking for her career Grand Slam. So Grand Slam is when you win the Australian Open, the Wimbledon tournament in England, Roland Garros, the French Open in Roland Garros, I should say, and then the US Open, which is played at the end of the year. And I was just going to say, so she is taking on, the number 5 seed Elena Rybakina.
And I think from what I saw when I was doing some prep here is that the 2 of them have met 11 times head to head, and it's nearly split 6-5 Schwantek. So I think Rybakina won their last meeting. And so this is probably one of those matches on the schedule that is going to be one of the more exciting
either way.
Yeah, and it's going to be an exciting match.
Yeah. So some other notable mentions, Naomi Osaka, probably a name that many of you have heard. She withdrew due to an abdominal injury. She did cause a stir with her second round match outfit that she came out of the tunnel in. She looked like she was going to go catch butterflies or something. Look it up. It's supposed to be a jellyfish or I don't know. But anyways,
amazing.
You can go see that. And then back to Venus Williams, one of the famed Williams sisters. She became the oldest woman to compete in the singles main draw at 45 years, 7 months old. I don't think she won, but kudos to her.
Yeah.
She's continuing to compete. She also plays on the doubles side as well. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. That was sort of our AO roundup. We'll see next week.
We'll see what happens.
Winner to talk about.
All right, let's move on to what to watch. PWHL. Okay, this is kind of a lot because Wednesday night is big. The night that we release this podcast will be a lot of matches. We have the number 1 Boston Fleet versus the number 4 New York Sirens. New York is only 5 points back, and depending on how the other games shake out, a win here could put them into second place, unless on that same night the number 2 Minnesota Frost can beat the number 5 Vancouver Golden Eyes. If New York and Minnesota both win in regulations, the standings would be 1 Minnesota, 2 Boston, and then it's kind of New York, Montreal based on the other outcomes of the other games.
And this is important because these are the last games, I believe, before we head into the Olympic break. So the Frost, if they can take care of business and have some other things fall in their favor, could come out of the other side of the Olympic break in number 1.
I think it's like 4 games. I think everyone's playing that night. So it's
they got to ship out to
a massive
Italy.
Game of hockey or massive night of hockey.
Amazing.
Find them on your local sports networks if you're in the United States.
Or YouTube for free.
Yeah, or YouTube. Like we were just talking about, Australian Open. We don't know at the time of recording this what the full landscape is. The semifinals start Thursday morning. So 2 semifinal games, and then Saturday morning around 2:30 a.m. Central is when the final match will be played.
Yes, and this just a fun fact about me. When I was in college, I got really into tennis, professional tennis, and I remember waking up to watch Australian Open Championships. Serena was playing, it was a big deal. So I will not be doing that this time around.
We will be checking the news. Yes. Unrivaled. Friday night is the night to watch. The Breeze will take on the Phantom and the Rose take on the Lunar Owls at the Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philly. I'm hearing that it's already sold out.
I've heard
20,000.
I've heard on good authority, which was Kylie Kelsey's Not Gonna Lie podcast when she interviewed Paige Beckers. Go check that out. Over 20,000 seating there, and it's sold out. One night, they're testing out a different market. Kylie is really excited to go with her girls.
It's gonna be great. I can't wait to see what they bring in there. And I think the Breeze and the Phantom are my 2 favorite teams right now.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, they're great. NCAA women's basketball. I again went searching for kind of what are the highest ranked teams that are going to play over the next weekend. We have a huge SEC matchup. Number 10 Oklahoma, who was 16-4 versus number 4 Texas for 19-2, 2 p.m. Central on Sunday on ABC.
Nice.
So huge matchup there. And I'm actually really getting excited to see how this starts to flow into March Madness, because that's going to be a whole.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be massive. It's going to be really fun.
Tune in.
I'm already thinking about we kind of maybe have to talk about UConn and just do a deep dive on what they've done over the past million years.
How old is Gino?
Yeah. All right, and then NCAA women's hockey, no doubt about it, the biggest games to watch this weekend. Your number 1, University of Wisconsin, taking on the number 3 University of Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Border battle.
So we've got Wisconsin at 23-1-2 and Minnesota at 22-4. 1 versus a 3, a natural border rivalry.
Totally.
6 p.m. Friday night and 2 p.m. Saturday on Big Ten Plus. Massive games.
These have got to be some of their last games too before.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I think the college season even takes a little bit of a pause for the Olympics. So that's really fun. Both teams have players that are going to go play in the Olympics. I have been obsessed with Abby Murphy since we saw her play. I got to see her do that. You've all seen the viral assist by now that she had.
It comes up every time I open Instagram.
If you haven't, go look at it. It's like unreal. But yeah, between the Gophers and the Badgers, I think you've got, I don't know, 8 like Team USA players. So that'll be really fun to watch. We'll definitely have our eyes on that.
That's all I got for this week.
All right.
I think we are moving on to winners and losers.
Let's close it out. Winners and
losers.
Let's
do it. What do you got?
Ooh, from content this week. I mean, big winners. Trinity Rodman.
Yeah.
I mean, she won.
For sure.
She won. What's your winner?
I think my winner, I have one serious one and one that's kind of a joke.
Yeah.
Not a joke. It's just kind of funny. The first winner is the U.S. Women's National Team. Like we said, slow start, but they came out and just absolutely routed Paraguay in the second half. I know what
Emma said in that locker room.
Yeah, I mean, whatever she said, it worked. And you have that young of a team, and they come out and just handle it like like we want them to.
Yeah.
That's my winner.
Goals are fun, guys.
Yeah. My second other winner is Natisha Heidemann for absolutely tearing me a new one when I said she might not have what it takes, and she just balls out of control. So
yeah, she did. And then for losers, we should flip this and do winners and on a positive. But for losers, I don't know, digging into the PWHL stuff and like knowing how much I know joy doesn't generate revenue. We gotta support those ladies in a different way. Well, like I said, I've got a bunch of notes on how the salaries break down, but there's a big discrepancy between different players on different teams. And right now everybody's like, oh, we love each other. We love the sport, but like, you know how this goes. Right. And so I think my loser is more that I want to see that accelerate a little bit so that those women are getting valued for the joy and community and love. I mean, we saw a beautiful post-game interview with Kelly Panic and Taylor Heisey. Kelly got really, these are Frost players, got really emotional about what's been going on in our community. Like, she was talking about how she just hoped that that people were able to come and like experience each other and something good for a couple hours. So I want them to do more.
Yeah, I would agree on that. It's we didn't get into the deep stats, but I think when the salaries do come out, there's going to be a little bit of a mess there, whether they show it or not. So,
yeah, agree. Is that it?
No, this is the part where I'm supposed to come up with a loser, and I
forgot
to do my homework.
Oh, you don't have a loser?
So I'm going to think of one here off the cuff.
Off the cuff.
I don't have one. We might have to cut this.
We have barely talked about the WNBA, so I'm going to give you a gimme and say they haven't reached a deal yet.
Yeah.
That's a loser.
That is a big loser. I think you said this 1 or 2 episodes ago, but the fans are going to be the losers if they don't have a season and they don't come to an agreement. So I'm going to steal your gimme and take it.
You're not stealing it. I was giving it away.
Oh, you're giving it away to me. All right. Perfect.
All right, y'all. Well, we appreciate you being here, listening with us this week. As we mentioned at the top, if there are topics you'd love to hear us dive into, you can find us on socials, RTG_pod.
You got it.
Or you can email us at
raisingthegamepod@gmail.com.
That's it.
All right.
Till next week.
Bye.
Bye.